Hello YouTube, this is Hakon and the following matchup will be about two of the most powerful force wielders that ever lived. Count Dooku versus Darth Sidious. And actually it was a big surprise that no one of my Versus series colleagues did this video. Because even when this is a master versus student fight on the first look, there is much more you recognize after you watch my video. Normally I would start to compare the two participants as martial artists, but even when Dooku and Sidious showed a reasonable competence at martial arts, I just don't think that in a battle between them these skills will come into play. So I will start with a summed up biography and continue with a comparison of their force abilities as well as their lightsaber skills. And at the end I will make a verdict. Born into a noble family on the planet Tyranus, Dooku was the heir of vast wealth and the noble title of Count. As a child he was taken by the Jedi Order to learn the way of the Force. Instructed by Yoda and later being apprentice of the Jedi Master Tarme in the age of 13, Dooku became soon a Jedi Knight and was one of the most gifted students the Order ever had. After decades of experience, Master Dooku was one of the top field agents of the Order and was respected by many people in the galaxy as warrior and diplomat. But all the success that Dooku had as a Jedi so far wasn't enough for Dooku. He publicly suggested at the Order that the Sith holocrons should be handed out to wise Jedi for studying the Sith ways for better use. And even when the Council did not agree with Dooku's opinion, Dooku just took some Sith holocrons and learned them secretly. He was convinced that Anakin Skywalker is not the chosen one, but more a wiser and powerful Jedi who learned both sides of the Force. Darth Sidious, born on Naboo and known under the name Palpatine, was a human male with a great interest in collecting dark-side artifacts. He early develops a great hunger for power, what drives him into plotting against everyone that stands between him and his goals. These attributes brought him the attention of Darth Plagueis, the Dark Lord of the Sith, who promised him great power. Palpatine accepted to be the Sith apprentice of Darth Plagueis, showing great talent in the way of the dark side, thanks to his intelligence and his need for power. The power of Palpatine, who soon became Darth Sidious, grows that fast that he soon decided to kill his master while sleeping, what he achieved. After the death of his master, no one could stop the rise of the newborn Sith Lord, who soon became one of the most powerful Sith that ever existed, thanks to his boisterous will for power and his knowledge of manipulate people. Dooku's lifestyle and character represents Form 2 of the classical lightsaber forms Makushi. This is the reason why he became early in master of this form and brought it to its highest level, until the point where his movements became natural for him like breathing. He also has knowledge of some parts of the other classical lightsaber forms, reaching to the point that he could instruct some of his Dark Jedi disciples and advancing their skills. But at this point, Dooku is known for his dislike of brute and aggressive styles like Xian Jamso and even Juyo, the most preferred form of the Sith. Dooku's style of fighting, with all the lack of aggression which should support his abilities, is in huge blockade to his ambitions to be a Sith Lord, because the Sith philosophy requires to embrace the dark side and its strong emotions. So Count Dooku had the difficult quest to combine his stoic and calm lightsaber style with the using of his dark side force abilities, which is also an explanation why he always showed problems to chain his dark side force abilities with his more Jedi-like fighting style. Nevertheless, Dooku is a master swordsman, and the only persons that could match up with him as swordsmasters were Mace Windu and Yoda. All in all, Dooku could mess up with several opponents at the same time, like he did against Obi-Wan and young Anakin, with an high agile Yoda and the fastest striker in Mace Windu, but not against someone who performs his moves with high strength. The fighting style of Darth Sidious is very unique. In my opinion, he mastered 4 of the 7 classical forms and combined them into a highly aggressive and agile fighting style. He used Form 1, Shicho, helping him to perform straight blows and cuts, as well as fighting multiple opponents at the same time. Form 4, Ataru, for highly force-based acrobatics and athletic abilities. Form 6, Nyman, to complete his defense skills and a mastery in chaining force-based attacks into his lightsaber sequences. In addition to Nyman, he also learned to fight in the Jakai style, to fight with 2 one-handed blades. And his most important mastery, Juyo, as the main gate to channel the dark side into his movements, as well as a reflection of his intentions to completely overwhelming his enemy and dominate the fight. Because of his tactics of hiding his true nature and playing the innocent old man, there are no many open fights that Sidious risks. Nevertheless, when he draws his lightsabers, someone is gonna die. He clearly beated Yoda in a heated battle, was equally to Mace Windu the fastest striker in the galaxy, and beat Darth Maul and Savage Opress at the same time. To draw a conclusion about the skills of both competitors, I want to say that I count these two to the greatest swordsmasters of all time. Nonetheless, their different styles of fighting shows me that there is a close edge to one of these two. Darth Sidious built his own fighting style to a perfect combination of viciousness, force-assisted acrobatics, and incredible speed to overwhelm and torture his opponent. Despite his typically Sith mentality to dominate the enemy with an overwhelming attack, he also was a master in Nyman, using its defense maneuvers to hold himself into the battle in case he should need it. Nonetheless, he showed great problems in defending himself in his fight against Darth Maul, in a situation where he was standing toe-to-toe with a strong, raging Zabrak lunatic. Count Dooku, on the other hand, had built his whole fighting style about his mentality to being a fencer. As a personification of Markashi, Dooku is an unbelievable precise as well as agile fighter. He shows minimal effort in his movements and spent much of his power just to set this one precise cut to defeat his enemy. Just like Sidious, Dooku showed great problems holding himself into a fight while fighting someone who's much more stronger than him. Beside, I talk about Darth Maul and Anakin Skywalker, probably two of the most brutal and strongest swordsmasters that ever lived. Nevertheless, neither Sidious or Dooku has any significant strength advantage against each other. Both are very agile and fast in their movements. Sidious is a more aggressive fighter, with a will to dominate the battle. But every attack Sidious performs, Dooku could hold with minimal use of kinetic energy, thanks to his mastery of Markashi. On the other hand, Sidious could also block most of the strikes performed by Dooku, even if they are not blocked as easily like Count Dooku could. The key in a pure fight with lightsabers of these two would be, as stupid as it sounds, to be patient until one of them make a mistake. And this mistake is throwing blows until tiring out. Even when Darth Sidious has access to an unlimited well of dark power, he is just a man and sometimes need to catch his breath. And in just an unconcentrated moment like that, Dooku could set just this one cut to make his opponent incapable to fight. Even when there is just a small defense advantage for Dooku, I will give this slight edge to the Count because of his clever and calm way to fight while spending much of his power. For over 70 years, Master Dooku was a member of the Jedi Order and a practitioner of its light side force abilities. He became one of the Order's top field agents and a symbol for the influence of the Jedi in the galaxy. Known for his talent for telekinetic abilities, Dooku had a talent for force-based levitating and was able in his midlife to offer lessons to other Jedi. He was even capable to levitate all chairs in the Jedi Council chamber, and later in life, thanks to the teaching of Sith holocrons and Darth Sidious, he was able to levitate himself. He also had knowledge of a weaker form of Tyranus, to block or reflect force lightning instead of absorbing it. Despite the fact that he learns in his 10 years of secret Sith teachings many new and powerful Sith techniques like personal levitating and the famed force lightning, he was still better in the conventional Jedi force techniques, which he mastered over decades. Trained in the Sith arts by Darth Plagueis the Wise, Darth Sidious learned not only many ways of using the dark side, but also the way to maximize its potential. Because he murdered his master, he couldn't reveal every secret of Darth Plagueis, like creating life, or drain the life of his opponents with bare hands, for instance. Nevertheless, he brought many force abilities to its highest level. For example, choking an individuum from a huge distance, levitating several persons at the same time, including himself, as well as...
Have mercy. Please, please.
There is no mercy.
Force lightning. And even when the Sith embrace the hate, believe me, this psychopath is absolutely loving it. And he was that talented in it that he even mastered the strongest and most hateful form of Force lightning, the Force storm, that can engulf entire starship fleets and worlds. The main question is it better to know many ways of using the Force, or being very good in just several? I think it's better to be very good in several. While Count Dooku, who was by the way older than Sidious as they worked together, gathered much more wisdom and knew more ways in using the Force, Darth Sidious spent his whole life embracing the dark side without remorse and never doubted its power or philosophy. Let's take both battles of them against Yoda and compare their abilities. While using Force Lightning against Yoda, Count Dooku couldn't break through due to Yoda's knowledge of Tyranus. Yoda just needed one arm to absorb Dooku's lightning. Darth Sidious, on the other hand, brought Yoda to the point that he had to use both hands, that Yoda barely survived Sidious's lightnings. In terms of dark side Force abilities, Count Dooku is obviously still the apprentice, and even if Count Dooku would rely more on his light side abilities, he couldn't mess up with a person who has, because of his lack of remorse, an unlimited access to dark side energy. That means Darth Sidious gets the edge as a Force wielder because he dedicated his life just to go down one road without any doubt or remorse. And now, the verdict. Just to give this confrontation a reason, I thought about what really could happen if Count Dooku had survived the battle over Coruscant. After fleeing from the starship over Geonosis, Count Dooku thought about his feelings while he fought Skywalker. While Sidious showed no interest in helping him, he suddenly realizes how expendable he is. Sooner or later, Sidious would come to kill him. He remembers how his downroad spile finally met his Sith destiny. It was the death of Qui-Gon Jinn, killed by Sidious' former apprentice Darth Maul. He realized that Sidious ordered Jinn's death, Dooku's first Padawan. The pain was still deep in Dooku's bitter heart and was replaced by deep anger. Dooku knew he couldn't return to the light side, but he has to end it. He must kill Sidious or die trying to find his final peace. A battle between these two wouldn't start with a sneak attack of Dooku, but with an open challenge of the Count, of course in the Makashi style. In fact, I would illustrate the start similar to the meeting of Yoda and Sidious. After Dooku challenges Sidious, Sidious would try, while he is talking, slowly raise his hands and suddenly uses his Force lightnings. But Dooku speculated that Sidious would use this technique at the beginning and uses his telekinetic abilities to use a big obstacle as a shield against it. Sidious sees that and tries to push the obstacle that Dooku uses back to injure his opponent. At the moment Sidious stopped to use Force Lightning and concentrate on pushing the table in Dooku's direction, Dooku jumping over the table and drawing his lightsaber in mid-air. In a blink of an eye, Sidious drawing immediately his lightsaber and blocked the first strike of Dooku. They would fight a whole time, and Sidious would dominate the fight. Dooku would block every strike of Sidious, who tires out more and more with every blocked strike, until this one moment while Sidious making a small mistake because of exhaustion. Suddenly Dooku unarms Sidious and wants to perform the death blow, but Sidious, who is now in deep aggression, uses his strongest Force lightnings that he has. Dooku, who is surprised, holding up his lightsaber, trying to channel it. But the lightnings are that strong that he loses the grip of his curved lightsaber. In a desperate act, he tries to reflect them with Tyranus, but feeling he cannot hold it for long, so he decides to beat lightning with lightning. While losing himself now into deep aggression, Dooku held himself for a long time, but then exhausting slowly while using Force Lightning. Sidious overwhelms Dooku through his unlimited source of dark side power, shocking Dooku slowly to death. After a heated battle, Darth Sidious would win, even if it was a close one. Therefore, I declare Darth Sidious, Dark Lord of the Sith, the victor.